Hello there, it's of course D Square here again. Welcome back to the House of D. Today we're going to be talking spoilers about Fallen Angels #1. This is the last #1 Dawn of X issue that has released. As I stated in my review, the table is set. We now understand where all these titles are going, so let's dive in to Fallen Angels #1. So the first thing we see is a little girl. Looks a lot like Psylocke. She could be maybe related to Psylocke. We even get to see, a butterfly tattoo on the back of her neck. But either way, it turns out that this little girl has a device. She puts the device on. All of a sudden, she starts going crazy, and she ends up, killing people and ultimately destroying the train that she is on. Alright, so back on Krakoa, Psylocke is meditating. Well, let me clarify. So, Psylocke has always been a complicated character with a complicated origin, and so as the Dawn of X and Powers of X came, we actually did see Betsy Braddock separate from the body and mind of Quanin, who's the Japanese ninja that she got her body from. So now we have Quanin, the real Japanese ninja with the psychic and telekinetic powers and blades. She has adopted the name Psylocke. The Psylocke we all knew, this is her body, but her mind, the persona of Betsy Braddock, she is now Captain Britain. Okay, so when I say Psylocke, this isn't the Psylocke we all knew. This is the actual Quanin Psylocke who does wish to be called Psylocke, which is cool. It's cool that we do still have a semblance of the character that we all grew up with and loved, as well as we have Betsy Braddock, aka Captain Britain, so we get to see her in a more happier place as well, and in her own skin. Okay, well now that all that has been cleared up, clear as mud, Psylocke is back in Krakoa. She's meditating. She gets this vision. I would call it a dream, but she is adamant that this is not a dream. But she gets this vision, and this vision is telling her that she has to stop Apoth. Now, of course, we just saw something claiming to be Apoth destroy these people and destroy this train. So that is pretty cool. We get to see kind of the start of this villain, or what this villain is doing now, and then we cut to Psylocke, who is being informed by this vision that she needs to stop. Again, Apoth is this villain's name. So after Psylocke has this vision, she goes to Magneto. Why? Well, as you may recall, particularly if you're following my videos here on the House of D YouTube channel, Professor Xavier was assassinated in X-Force #1. So now that he is assassinated, Magneto is pretty much the top guy. Now, I'm not sure what's going to go on with that. I'm expecting Xavier to be back pretty post-haste, but it looks like they're dragging this on a little bit. Nonetheless, all of Krakoa is in mourning. No one is allowed to leave. They are in lockdown. So that is why Psylocke is appealing to Magneto that she has had this vision. He refers to it as a dream. She is like, no, this isn't a dream. Stop referring to it as a dream. Nonetheless, this vision that told her that she needs to stop Apoth, she explains it to Magneto. He does not grant her permission to leave Krakoa, but he does point her in the direction of Mr. Sinister. So Psylocke then goes to Mr. Sinister. He's of course working on who knows what, probably something nefarious, but he's like, listen, you can talk to me, tell me what's on your mind, just don't be a bore. Now Psylocke is successful in convincing Sinister that he should help her slip out of the island. Looks like that her story of Apoth and the fact that she wants to break the rules, this has Mr. Sinister jazzed up a little bit. So he does grant her permission to leave. Now, don't ask me why Magneto said no, but then said go see Sinister. Obviously, he knows Sinister has a way around these things, so it's not like Magneto's completely ignorant. But nonetheless, Psylocke manages not to bore Sinister, and so he does grant her permission and give her a way of leaving the island of Krakoa. Right, so this next scene is really, really kind of interesting. Gives us a lot of insight into two popular characters. Of course, I'm talking about young Cable and, of course, X-23. So they're kind of watching this revelry on Krakoa, and it kind of reminds me of going back to the Wolverine and what he was saying in X-Force 1 about feeling safe. But either way, Cable and X-23, they're not the partying type, so they actually end up like sparring and fighting each other to kind of pass some time here. So really kind of weird. And then another thing that happens here that's interesting is that Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain, wants to talk to Psylocke, Quanin. And Quanin is just like, you know what, we don't need to do this. So Quanin is still very kind of, feeling some type of way about the fact that, her body was stolen for all these years, and she was inside, and she was screaming, but, couldn't get out. So, I can understand how she really doesn't want to talk to Betsy Braddock at this point. But she does want to talk to Cable and X-23, because she is seeing what they're doing here, and she has correctly deduced that, okay, they're just like me. They're not trying to sit here in safety, in revelry. They're itching for a fight. So, they should probably come with me. Quanin does approach X-23 here, kind of, tells her what she's that she's got some place that she wants to go with them. She has to go after this Apoth person causing destruction. X-23 ultimately agrees, but says, let's leave Cable out of this. He's not an assassin, he's a soldier. Sure, he's itching for a fight, and he'll do exactly what you want him to do, but in the end, I don't think he deserves this. He deserves some peace, so how about it just be me and you? So, Psylocke does follow suit. Her and X-23 go to Japan and meet this old contact of Quanin's to get some information. At first, they're being given the information willingly, but when it comes to, where is this Apoth, that information isn't being given up. So before I go any further here in the story, let me go back to that device that I mentioned in the beginning scenes of this issue. So basically what is happening here is it is common knowledge at this point, particularly in Japan, that with just some low-tech ingredients, they can make these devices that you strap on your head and can basically give you like a drug-like experience. There is no overdose, so that is seen as a good thing, but it turns out that there is somewhat of an overdose here where the technology can actually make a person go like batshit crazy and kill everyone around them. It's pretty similar scene to what we've seen in the beginning of this comic. With that information in mind, this is where Psylocke, I need to find, where these kids are at, right? Because she learns from this informant that there's this group of kids that basically just sit there, build these things, use them, and Psylocke wants to know where they're at. Well, the informant's not giving that information up. But, of course, we are talking about Psylocke here, so she uses one of her, telekinetic blades and stabs the lady through the head, not killing her, but that's how she's able to extract the information that they want. And of course X-23 is there to keep the other guards at bay, so they have successfully got the information they need to find these kids that have these dangerous devices. So armed with this information, they find these children. It's like a creepy scene. They're like in an abandoned house or warehouse or something like that. Psylocke and X-23, they go in, they find him there. There's 5 children, 4 of them drop dead right away. And then unfortunately, after some conversation where we learned that Apoth is doing this, so obviously Apoth is behind this new cybernetic drug thing. So we're seeing the plot thicken here as they're talking to this child, but it turns out the child itself is not Apoth, okay? So we're not actually in the presence of Apoth. But I guess before they can learn any more, though, this child then dies. Alright, so X-23 and Psylocke go back to Krakoa. They recruit Cable for their cause in hunting down this Apoth character. So they do mention that they are going to get other members, but so far we just have Psylocke, X-23, and Cable. They are the fallen angel members that we have right now. And so that's where this one ends. So obviously, this book has really just set up the team, set up their mission. Their mission is to go after this Apoth demon that is taking over these children, that is, providing this, electronic gadget that is basically being used as a drug, but making people freak out and kill people around them. So Apoth is behind all of this. They mention that this is perhaps a universal threat, so we will have to see as this story goes on. Now, as I mentioned in my review, I am going to be taking this one out of my pull list. I'll certainly be keeping tabs of it from afar, but again, the story really having not a lot to do with the mutants on Krakoa and the trials they face or people coming after them. This is much like the New Mutants, where they're just kind of going off in their own direction. Maybe it'll get tied back to the greater mutant population. I don't know. We'll have to see. Hopefully I don't regret dropping the series, but as I stated in my review, the artwork is not to my liking. The story is not gripping me. If you are someone that loves Psylocke, loves Cable, loves X-23, then certainly you're going to love this book, as this is obviously a lot of character development for the new Psylocke, as well as seeing how X-23 and Cable are living in this world of peace, right? So, alright, well, until next time, guys, please go to my Twitter, @dsquare72. You can always tweet on me there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you not as impressed as I am with this series? Are you loving this series, and why? Is it because you're a Psylocke fan, Cable fan, X-23? Do you like the dark noir work? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, or let me know on Twitter. You can also catch comic reviews of mine. I do a lot of indie comic reviews on superheroespeak.com, so definitely go check out that website. It is the best geek website out on the internet. And the podcast is pretty good too. But until next time, guys, hopefully I'll see you next time. Peace and love, and we'll see you again soon.